If you are sick to death of tofu stir fries, tofu scramble, and little air-fried cubes of tofu, this is the video for you because I am going to show you 3 things you probably didn't know that you could do with tofu. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Dani Taylor, co-owner of VeganProteins online coaching, and today I'm going to be showing you 3 things you might not have known that you can do with tofu. I have an itch. Tofu, also called bean curd, goes back thousands and thousands of years. And we often think about it as this really plain, boring, bland food. And a lot of people are kind of afraid of it, like it's an alien food. But really, all tofu is boiled soybeans that have been drained and mashed, and then a salt is added to that water, and it is formed into a brick. That's really all that it is. But you would never say, well, flour is disgusting and boring and bland, would you? No, because you know what to do with flour. You know how to turn it into cakes and muffins and brownies and cookies and breads. Tofu is a lot like flour, where if you know what to do with it, you can make some really incredible things. So I am going to show you 3 very cool things you can do with tofu. If you would like a copy of these recipes, down below, there is going to be a link. Enter your email. It should be in your inbox in a few minutes. If you don't see it there, check your spam. If for some reason you are not receiving it, please shoot us an email, coach@veganproteins.com, and we will get it to you ASAP. But before we get into it, if you're a vegan who's looking for high protein, healthy vegan recipes to help them burn fat, build muscle, look better, feel better, be sure to hit subscribe because we put out new videos every week. All right, let's get into it. First recipe we have up here is for a General Tso's tofu, but the tofu is different than normal. Did you know that you can grate tofu? Extra firm tofu or super firm tofu, you can literally grate it on a cheese grater, and that gives it a completely different texture than what we're used to. It also gives it all of this surface area to suck up these delicious sauces, which we have a bonus recipe in this video for a General Tso's sauce that I added to this tofu. So the tofu and the General Tso's sauce together makes 2 servings. Each serving is 308 calories, 30.2 grams of carbs, 10.2 grams of fat, and 22 grams of protein. And you can pair it with whatever you'd like. I did a white rice and broccoli today, but you know, you do you. Can't wait to show this to you. That's good. That's one. All right, to get started, I'm just making a couple cups of white rice in the Instant Pot, but you don't have to have rice with this recipe. I'm just adding it because it gives the meal some volume. Now I'm laying down a damp kitchen rag. This is actually clean despite it being stained. And I'm gonna put the cutting board on top of that. Putting a damp kitchen rag underneath a cutting board is a trick to prevent the cutting board from sliding around on the counter. So there's a little tip for you. And then I'm using a super firm block of tofu, but you can also just use extra firm tofu and a big box cheese grater. And I'm using the sort of larger side to grate this all the way down. There's a couple little pieces at the end that I'm not gonna be able to push through the grater, so I just broke those up into tiny little pieces. Now I'm gonna lay those out on a cookie sheet with the silicone baking mat, and I'm just gonna spread it out. I don't want it really piled in one area or empty in another. Just try to make it even. And I'm gonna pop it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 12 minutes. Take it out, stir it up with the spatula, and pop it back in for another 10 minutes. I'm just trying to get it kind of dry. Not crispy, but just a little bit drier. And while that's in the oven, I'm gonna make my General Tso's sauce. So in a little bowl, I'm adding 3 tablespoons of maple syrup, 3 tablespoons of soy sauce, a half a cup of vegetable broth, 1 tablespoon of unseasoned rice vinegar. I started with 1 tablespoon of chili sauce and 2 teaspoons of cornstarch that I'm whisking in there cold. If you try to do this while it's cooking, it's just gonna lump up. And then I tasted the sauce as it was and decided it needed a little more kick, so I threw in another pretty big glob of the chili sauce. And then separately on the stove, I also just steamed some broccoli for this meal. You can steam whatever vegetable you want or not, totally up to you. Now I'm using my cast iron frying pan here, but you could use any large pan you want, and I'm just dumping that sauce in and putting it over a low-medium heat until it thickens up like this. And once it's about this consistency, I'm gonna add the tofu in and just stir it up until it's fully coated. Now the tofu's already cooked, so really all we're trying to do is coat it, and it's done. Just plating it up, some white rice, some broccoli, our General Tso's tofu, and if I had sesame seeds and chives, that would also be on top, but Alas, I do not. So let's talk about the macros on this whole meal with the rice. It's 528 calories, 75 grams of carbs, 10 grams of fat, and 29 grams of protein. But the General Tso's tofu alone made 2 servings in that whole brick, and each one was 308 calories, 30 grams of carbs, 10 grams of fat, and 22 grams of protein. I need another fork. I wish you could see this. I'm completely boxed in by tripods and lights. It's a very weird feeling. Moving on to our next recipe, I am gonna show you how to make gnocchi out of tofu. That's right, you're gonna make pasta at home out of tofu. Now, I think the first place I saw this was on Instagram. I'm not sure who came up with it first, but it's an adaptation of lots of different recipes that I saw. This is the simplest little recipe. It makes 2 servings, 2 huge servings like this, and each serving of the gnocchi itself is 295 calories, 22.2 grams of carbohydrates, 10.2 grams of fat, and 24.6 grams of protein. And then you can add whatever kind of sauce, vegetable, cheese, whatever you want to it. And they're these little pillowy clouds of gnocchi, which is my favorite pasta. So I was very excited when I saw this, more excited when I tried it and it worked out, and now very excited to show it to you guys. Yes, yes, yes. Before we even get started, go ahead and bring a large pot of salted water on the stove over medium-high heat. Bring it to a boil because it's going to take a while to get there, and hopefully by the time you're done making the pasta, it'll be coming to a boil right then, and it'll be perfect timing. Okay, this might be the only time you guys ever see me actually press tofu. So there's a million ways to press tofu. There's actually a tofu press that you can buy, but I don't have one. So I'm gonna layer some paper towels, put my extra firm tofu on there, put a cutting board on top of it, and then find the heaviest thing in my kitchen that I can find that will work, and that is a pumpkin. I'm glad that after spending months and months growing this pumpkin in my garden, I have finally found a use for it. All right, we're gonna get your food processor out. Just crumble the tofu up into big chunks in there. And then we're gonna blend that up in the food processor alone until it is as smooth as possible. Because it's an extra firm tofu, this is gonna take a while, and it's not gonna be like a creamy, smooth consistency, but it's going to be kind of like a thick ricotta consistency with nothing else added to it. And once we like the consistency it's at, we're gonna add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of gnocchi, and reblend to make sure that's all incorporated. You can see it's already starting to ball up here, and we're not even done yet. So now, after spreading it back out, I'm adding a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. I've seen people do this with oat flour, and it also works if you want a gluten-free version. And I'm pulsing this together until it starts to form this sticky dough ball here. Now, you're definitely gonna wanna flour your surface for this, so when I calculated the macros, I did account for the extra flour that I used in rolling it out, because it is quite a sticky dough. So flour your surface, flour your hands, and just start to, you don't really need to knead this, but we do need to get it into a ball shape. And then we're gonna cut that into quarters. And we're gonna work with each quarter individually. All right, go ahead and take a 1/4 of it, and using as much flour as you need to, you're gonna roll it out into a snake that is about a 1/2 inch thick. And then we're just gonna cut this into little 1/2 inch pieces. So they're almost like little tiny cube cylinder type things. Now you could also take this and run it over a fork if you wanna get the cool texture. We're going rustic today. And then you're just gonna repeat this for all 4 of the logs. Once you have all of that done, I took basically 2 logs worth of these and put it in the pot of boiling water. As soon as I put it in, it stopped boiling, so it takes a minute to come back to boil. But once it's boiling, it's gonna be about 2 to 3 minutes in that pot until they float, and then they're done. So technically you could take them out, put sauce on them, eat them right there, but what I'm gonna do is pop them over to the frying pan so that they kind of crisp up a little bit on the edges over medium heat, put the sauce in there, and it was way too hot and started spitting everywhere here. But still delicious. And if you had some vegetables ready, you could add that to the dish. But just like this, it is so ridiculously delicious. It doesn't even make sense. Even my very Italian husband was like, wow, this is way better than I expected it to be. This made 2 servings here, 2 pretty large servings. So each of the servings of gnocchi alone was 295 calories, 22.2 grams of carbs, 10.2 grams of fat, and 24.6 grams of protein. And then any sauce or veggies or cheese that you add to it, you would add to that number. So this is just for the pasta alone. But that is pretty good for homemade pasta that is delicious. It's very hard to get in here. Hopefully I'm in there. I guess I can check. They have this feature on your watch where your watch can be a monitor, but if you like move your hand at all, it zooms in on you for no reason. No clue. But that looks about right. Okay. Lastly, I'm going to show you what I brought to every family function from the age of 16 to probably close to 25. And it is a tofu-based chocolate mousse pie. Now I'm using just a store-bought pie crust here, but you don't actually have to have a crust at all. You could just make this mousse into little cups. You could add peanut butter to it, which I've done. You could put fruit on top of it, which I've done. But the thing that I love about this is I would bring it to parties and I would just put it on the buffet table or whatever and walk away. And people would try it and they'd be like, oh my God, that's so good. Who brought the chocolate mousse pie? And eventually I'd be like, it was me. And they'd be like, you, what was that? And I'm like, it's tofu. And they would not believe it until they actually went home and made it themselves. And they were like, oh my God, I didn't know tofu could taste like that. Now you can make this more rich or less rich. Today I made it like medium, so it's not too sweet, it's not too dense, but you can really doctor this up however you'd like. The macros for this particular piece of pie are 261 calories, 28.7 grams of carbohydrates, 14.8 grams of fat, and 7.2 grams of protein. So not a high protein dessert by any stretch, but it's tofu and people won't believe it's tofu. So if you've never done this before, you have to give it a try. I could eat that whole thing right now. Okay, so this is an interesting recipe because you can use all different kinds of tofu here. Most recipes, when you look it up, they're gonna use silken tofu for this. And I find that that is just a little bit too soft, a little bit too runny. I need to add too much chocolate chips to it to make it the proper texture at the end. So I usually like to use soft or medium, but my store didn't have that. So I'm using firm tofu, and I have done this with extra firm tofu before. So it changes the consistency a little bit. It's harder to get it 100% smooth. Like there's a tiny bit of grain left to it, but it is still absolutely delicious. So again, I'm using firm. If you can find medium or soft, that's probably gonna work better. But the macros that I'm gonna give are for the firm tofu. So I'm gonna take the firm tofu, put it in the food processor here, and blend that up until it is as smooth as we can possibly get it. Also gonna add a teaspoon of vanilla to the tofu alone. Now, because I'm using firm tofu and it is harder to get it to be completely smooth, I ended up using about a 1/4 cup of soy milk that I added a couple tablespoons at a time to try to get it to the desired consistency here. So this is as smooth as I was able to get it after a few minutes. Like I said, there's still the teeniest bit of grain to it, but I served this at a party the next day and everybody loved it. To the food processor now, I'm gonna go ahead and add 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder and blend that till it's smooth. And now I'm gonna take 6 ounces of chocolate chips. These are the Enjoy Life chunks, I believe. That's what my store had. 6 ounces, and I'm going to microwave them until they are completely smooth. Now the key, if you've never done this before, to microwaving chocolate chips instead of having to do the whole double boiler rigmarole, is you have got to stir it every 30 seconds. You have to keep your eye on it. And the other thing is you have to make sure that your bowl and your spoon that you're stirring it with are completely dry. If any water gets into this, the whole thing is gonna seize and get crumbly and it's not gonna be right. So put it in a microwave safe dish, put it in the microwave, and every 30 seconds, go in and stir it up until it is super smooth and shiny and perfect. Once you have that, use a rubber spatula to get all of that goodness into the food processor. And you are gonna blend that up until it's smooth. Make sure you give it a few breaks to scrape down the sides. And I'm just using a pie crust that I bought at the store. You don't have to use a pie crust at all. You could put this in little ramekins as a mousse by itself. You could put fruit on top of it. I'm just using a graham cracker store-bought crust here because that seems to go over the best with my family. And spooning it in, spreading it out and popping it in the fridge for at least 4 hours. Now, the more chocolate chips you add to this, the firmer the outcome. The less chocolate chips you add to it, the softer the outcome. So if you want to use fewer chocolate chips, use a firmer tofu. If you want to use more chocolate chips, use a softer tofu. And this pie made 8 servings, and even with the crust, it came out at 261 calories, 28.7 grams of carbs, 14.8 grams of fat, and 7.2 grams of protein. And if I had 8 servings of just the mousse, it would be even less, at 161 calories, 14.7 grams of carbs, 9.8 grams of fat, and 6.2 grams of protein. All right, everybody, well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I really enjoyed making these, and 𝐵𝐸𝐿𝐼's really going to enjoy eating these things as well. He's already very pumped about it. If you are a vegan who's looking to get in better shape, whether that's to lose fat, build muscle, that's actually what we do here at Vegan Proteins. No, we are not a YouTube cooking channel. We are a coaching company. We have been coaching vegans to get in the best shape of their life since 2008, and we're coming up on 3,000 vegans now that we have coached. So if you're interested in one-on-one coaching, go ahead and fill out an assessment down below. You'll hear back from one of us within a business day. We'd love to help you reach your goals. Don't forget to download a copy of these recipes by entering your email in the link down below. And if you liked the video, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe, hit the bell, all the things I'm supposed to tell you to do at the end of a YouTube video, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.
Okay, I did my part. I stayed out of the kitchen the whole time. What do I have to enjoy now? What is this? What do you got? What? What is that? What's this?
Gnocchi, tofu gnocchi.
Are you serious?
Yep, but here's the thing.
I'm gonna eat all of this.
Here's the thing.
What?
You have to do the dishes.
That? No.